over 55 new subscribers to the YouTube channel. So you see it scrolling across the bottom. Head over there and subscribe. That's in a week. I can't believe it. I'm loving what we're doing with the YouTube channel, and I think it's going to be a huge benefit for this program and for you, the listener and / viewer of the show. So about 3.5 weeks ago, coming up on 4 weeks, this Thursday, I believe it was, the news came out, or this Wednesday, the news came out about the big move from Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. Well, over the weekend, developments kind of reports started to come out about maybe the Big Ten and the Pac-12, which we've kind of talked about that. I mean, these two leagues have been aligned for a long time with the Rose Bowl. But then it started to filter in another league called the Atlantic Coast Conference, potentially coming together in an alliance to create a scheduling group that could potentially put games on your table of Clemson and Southern Cal, Penn State and Florida State. A group of teams, 57, I believe, would, I guess, be the number, creating essentially a block of conferences to combat the SEC to a degree when it comes down to the financial particulars of the rights to carry these ball games. Because if you can create better matchups consistently, then you endear yourself to the networks. And right now, let's face it, and look, you can take the Atlantic Coast Conference as a simple model of this and say, well, it's been Clemson and everybody else, and the gap has been fairly large. Is it nice when you get a top 10 Clemson-Miami matchup in the ACC championship game? Sure. Is it nice if Florida State's a top 5 team in the country and Clemson and Florida State are playing as 2 top 5 teams? Yeah, that's great, but they're not that. You got to go back to 2013 to get that top 5 matchup, I believe, between Clemson and Florida State. And that was before Clemson was even where they are today, which is considered one of the top 3-4 programs in the country, maybe top 2, depending on who you ask. But those games on Clemson's schedule outside of this game against Georgia to open up the season on September the 4th in Charlotte, as people have said to me, are pedestrian. And they're not games people are going to want to tune into, and so on and so forth. And currently, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, not really doing much on their end of the deal to make the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry compelling. And so if these leagues could come together, and if they could find a way to form an alliance that would give us better games more frequently, then it would be a positive for all of the leagues because of the financial dollars. Now, the question becomes, in this push for change, what happens to a Notre Dame in that scenario? It may be more concerning for everybody would be what would happen to those big 12 teams that are remaining. And therein lies the rub and concern of all of this for those teams. Because, as I said when this news broke 3.5 weeks ago, that league, the Big 12, with or without Texas and Oklahoma, currently still has a seat at the college football playoff table. But if the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 partner in some sort of scheduling alliance, then who is Oklahoma going to play? Or excuse me, Oklahoma State going to play? Who is Texas Tech going to play? And at that point, it really feels like the next move is for those 8 teams, and they're not going to love this scenario. I'm not even going to tell you I love this scenario because I honestly, with college football where it is right now, it's kind of like going to a restaurant I've never been to before, and maybe they're cooking. Like I went to a Vietnamese restaurant in New Orleans. I had never eaten Vietnamese. So I didn't have any idea what I would like or what I wouldn't like, and it was possible I wouldn't like any of it. So I don't really know. I feel like this is like the Vietnamese restaurant here. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'm not going to like. But if this partnership takes place between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 in scheduling, then I don't see a way. I don't see a way that West Virginia doesn't try to get into the Atlantic Coast Conference and Notre Dame and try to make a 16-team league there. I don't know why Kansas and Iowa State wouldn't try to get into the Big 12, the Big 10, and Texas Tech and maybe BYU, why they wouldn't try to get, like, at that point, if you're those 8 remaining teams, I understand that BYU is not one of the teams in the remaining members of the Big 12. Like, I get it, but with this alliance, if it does end up taking place and coming to fruition, you don't want to be on the outside of this. You don't want to be on the outside of this. And that is a name like Notre Dame. Because who are you going to play if these teams in these other leagues are bound and they are in an agreement that they are going to work together to schedule? The last thing you want to do if you're Notre Dame is lose matchups with Stanford, Southern Cal, the games that those fans covet and love, to end up having to play against the American Athletic Conference because there's a scheduling conflict that you can't straighten out because of this alliance.